Hello and welcome to part 2 of your neutralization lessons. There's only 2 lessons in the neutralization section of this unit. The first one we did together in class, where you have to do the molecular ionic net ionic. It's the same idea we did, but instead of looking for precipitate, one of your product, instead of a precipitate, it'll be liquid water. Otherwise, you're doing your molecular double displacement, ionic, net ionic, cancel out spectator, and this is always your net ionic. So you should have done question 1 from the worksheet. Now the rest of the worksheet is doing calculations. I have everything in the notes for you, but I just want to run it through run through it with you. They're not hard, but they are 4-step questions. And the problem is, when you see a question like this on your worksheet and on your test, I don't prompt you with what the 4 steps are. So it's a whole bunch of numbers and information, and the key is just realizing what are the 4 steps. It's always 4 steps. So in this one, we have a reaction of 35 mils of liquid drain cleaner. That'll be our base, sodium hydroxide. And we're going to add it to 50.08 mils of a 0.409 mole per liter hydrochloric acid to neutralize the base. So what we are doing is we're actually doing some calculations. So you will need a calculator with you. So whenever you get a word problem, these are the 4 steps. Oh, what is the concentration of the base? So for word problems, and I think the screen is bigger now, you can't see that. You're always solving for one of 2 things. Either you're solving for concentration or for volume. So I'm gonna show you how to solve for concentration. And if you have to solve for volume, it's pretty much similar, but there's just a little change in the process. So, and I'll just warn you that on the test, there are word problems, and students either get full marks or 0. So if you do the work, go through the worksheet and practice, it's easy, and then you should do fine with it. Okay, so here we go. How do you do this? Now again, these are the 4 steps. When you get your test in your worksheet, I do not prompt you through the 4 steps, so always follow the 4 steps. Step number 1, you have to write a balanced equation. The screen is bigger than I'm used to, but you have your notes. So step 1 is always writing the balanced equation. You do your molecular equation, double displacement, and balance it overall. Now, you have to do that because you have to realize what the mole ratio is. So again, the tricky part is sometimes I give you information for the acid, and so you figure out moles of acid. Sometimes you're figuring out moles of base. But step number 1, you write a balanced equation, calculate the moles of acid. Hopefully you remember this formula from grade 11, our solutions unit. So moles is equal to molarity times volume. You should know that formula from grade 11. So I told you the molarity and I told you the volume of the acid. Remember, volume has to be in liters. So you take the molarity times the volume in liters, and that gives you the moles of acid. Now, you use the moles of acid to figure out the moles of base. This is easy. It's a 1-to-1 ratio, so the moles of acid will be the same as the moles of base, but that's not always true. So you must have a balanced equation to figure out the mole ratio. So step number 1, write a balanced equation. Step number 2, calculate the moles of acid. Again, this changes. Sometimes you're doing acid, sometimes base, so read your question carefully. So this one, we're getting the moles of acid. Now that we have the moles of acid, then we can get the moles of base. This one, we don't have enough information to use the formula, so you have to use the mole ratio. So you calculate the moles of acid, then you figure out the moles of base using the mole ratio. This is a 1-to-1 ratio, so they are the same. So now we're ready to actually answer the question. So you need to realize there's 3 pre-steps. First, write the balanced equation. 2, calculate the moles of acid. 3, now use the mole ratio to get the moles of base. Now we're ready to finally answer the question. Does anyone even remember what it was? Solve for concentration. Again, we go back to the formula that we learned last year in grade 11. So we just used moles is equal to molarity times volume. Using that same formula, when you rearrange it, molarity is moles divided by volume. See, the problem was in the question, I told you the volume of base, but I didn't tell you the moles of base. So we had to do those 3 pre-steps so we can figure out moles of base, because I did not give that to you directly in the question. But now we have all the information we need. The moles is 0.0205. The volume was given in the question, so the concentration is 0.586 moles per liter. And then you're done. So these are 4-mark questions on the test because there's the 4 steps involved. Now the only other difference is, what if I asked you to get volume instead of concentration, and I do? Well, if you're solving for volume, the first 3 steps are the same. You'd still write the balanced equation. You'd still figure out the moles of the acid. You would still use the mole ratio to get the moles of base, but the only difference is I would have given you the concentration, I would have given you concentration and asked you to solve for volume. So for that case, volume, if we rearrange, volume would be moles divided by molarity. So it's just this last step that changes. So I don't know if that helps or makes it worse, but it's always 4 steps. Make sure you follow the 4 steps and the word problems should work out. And I do believe that is it. So while the other group is doing the lab, the group at home, you're going to be completing questions 2 to 10. I think questions 2, 3, 4 are just mole ratio to practice that. And then questions, I think 5, 6, 7, 8 are the actual word problems like we did. And then 9 and 10 are just some simple ones from the notes. And drop the base to neutralize an acid. Really hard to find a funny joke. Okay, so hopefully that helps, but like I said, I've posted an answer key online to help you through this sheet. We will at some point come together and discuss it, but you're basically doing the neutralization worksheet at home on your own so that the other group can be at school in class doing labs. Okay, message me if you need help or have any questions, but good luck with the neutralization worksheet. Drop the base. Still not funny.